What's going on, guys? I hope you're having an amazing day or night. I wanted to jump on here and talk about men and their relationship towards their heart and how oftentimes they're ruled by the mind and the head and logic, and they have just a complete disconnect or shutdown of the heart. So, as I have worked as a men's coach for the past 5 or 6 years now, I've noticed a recurring trend, a recurring theme, and that is a massive disconnect from the heart in a lot of men. Okay, now what I mean by this is there are so many men who are just completely ruled and governed by the mind, okay, by the rationale, by the logic, by that sort of just logical, rational way of being, okay? So it's all up here, it's all in the mind. Now, there is absolutely a time and place for operating from the head, the mind, the rationale, the logic, but in a lot of cases, these men that operate out of the head primarily, they have a lot of disconnect in relation to the heart. And I'm not speaking about this just, in my experience working with men, but also within myself. I used to be very, very disconnected from the heart, and anything related to emotions, feelings, self-love, anything like that, I was just completely shut off to, disregarded it, all right? I didn't want to hear about it. All I cared about was logic, thinking, facts, rationale, all these sorts of things. And what I've learned over the years within my experience is the thinking part of our experience, like the head, is only half of our power, okay? If we deprive ourselves of tapping into, using, and actually operating from the heart, we lose so much of our potential power. We lose so much of our potential to connect with people. We lose so much of our potential to just experience life how I believe it's meant to be experienced. Okay, now, are there places and times where rationale, logic, the mind, logical thinking, and stuff like this, performs much better than operating out of the heart? Of course, right? When you need to make a rational decision, when you need to operate out of logic, when you need to genuinely think things through from a non-emotional perspective, and you just need a clear, definite answer, you need a clear, definite path forward, the thinking mind is really good at doing those sorts of things. But where the thinking mind and that rationale and that logic sort of falls short is when we start to talk about connecting with others and, even connecting with ourselves, okay? When you're in a situation where you're trying to connect with someone else, you're not doing that through logic, right? If you've ever had a deep conversation where you've genuinely connected to someone, at a depth beyond the surface, you're not just doing this through rational thinking, you're literally connecting to their heart, right? I think it's Dr. Joe Dispenza mentioned that our heart literally radiates like an electromagnetic frequency. It's like an aura, right? I know it's a fucking buzzword right now, among the super young generation, aura this, aura that. But it's an actual thing. We have an electromagnetic field literally radiating around us, pulsating around us, and that is coming from the heart. So when us men shut ourselves off from this heart, and when us men disconnect from this, and we don't allow ourselves to use it, and we don't we don't allow ourselves to operate from it, all that does is shut us off from one of the most beautiful parts of our existence. So I just want to mention a few patterns that I've actually came across when it comes to men being shut off from the heart. So firstly, anything to do with inner work, emotions, healing, trauma, anything like this, they don't want to hear about it. They don't want to think about it. They don't even want to acknowledge that it's a thing, within their reality. They're avoiding it because they're disconnected from the heart. And the longer you're disconnected from the heart, the harder it is to get back in touch with it, because it's foreign, it's alien. It doesn't even feel like it's a real thing anymore. I remember when I first reconnected to my heart and I started to feel again, and I started to allow myself to process stuff, and I allowed myself to just have an experience that was beyond the logical mind and actually from the heart center, it was really hard for me. Like, it was actually really hard. It felt like I had to crack my heart open. I've mentioned this a few times in a few of my written posts. Like, I always say men need to crack their heart open. I say that because that's what I had to do. It felt like I had to crack my heart open and allow myself to feel again. I feel like as young boys, when we're growing up, we shut off our hearts because, it's like almost like a defense mechanism in the sense of like a social construct, because as young boys, a lot of us were told, it's, don't cry, don't be a little baby, don't be a girl, just fucking think about it, mate, like, stop operating, like, just narratives like this that we've been fed. They really cause us to disconnect from the heart and operate purely from the mind and the head. And over time, it just, you shut off your heart so much, you build calluses around it, and you really don't have the capacity or the operational power to operate from that place anymore. And you just become like this logical, almost robot, right? But when you connect to it, you reclaim that part of yourself, that human part of yourself, that beautiful heart-centered version of yourself. And, I'm not saying that men need to abandon their logic, abandon their rational thinking and all that sort of thing. No. What I'm saying is men need to combine the two, merge the two, okay? Keep the rational mind, keep the logical thinking, keep that sort of like way of being, but also introduce, or I should say reintroduce, the heart, feeling, healing, allowing yourself to connect to yourself and others deeply, like really just merging the two, the head and the heart. You don't just have to be the logical, rational guy all the time. Like, you can literally tap into that heart center, allow yourself to open up and show love, like, not only just to others, right? Like, even that is in and of itself a topic, right? A lot of men struggle to show love to others. Like, it could literally be their own partner, and they're like, I struggle to express how I feel. And it's like, well, you obviously love this woman, right? Like, if we're referring to the partner. The reason that men a lot of the time struggle to express how they feel is because they're completely disconnected from their heart. They operate completely from their mind all the time. They actually don't have like a habitual pattern of operating from the heart center. They're always so logical, so rational, XYZ, XYZ. And yes, men are naturally more driven by the mind, but that doesn't mean we need to completely neglect the heart altogether. We need to merge the two. Okay, so in the case of the man who genuinely finds it hard to express love to his partner, it's to his own hindrance, right? Like, it's only going to make her feel unloved. It's going to make her feel like, he doesn't really, have these emotions for me. He doesn't care about me deeply. When in reality, he definitely does, but he's just not expressing it in the right way, or expressing it in a way that she can understand. Because realistically speaking, men and women, it's almost like we speak a completely different language, right? Like the language of men and like the language of women, which sometimes I used to refer to as womanese. It's almost like it's a different language. And so if a man is expressing his love in the sense of like, of course I love her. I mowed the lawn, didn't I? I, provided this week, didn't I, with my paycheck? I took the kids to sport, didn't I? Like, obviously, these are all acts of my love. They're all a version of me expressing my love. And it's like, well, yes, the way you're expressing your love may, be in your mind a way that she can comprehend. But in a lot of cases, the way that a woman will receive love or even interpret the fact that you are conveying love is completely different to what a man will think. So a man may think that acts of service is like a thing that's going to fill up the woman's love tank. But realistically, in not all cases, but in a lot of cases, it's like things like words of affirmation, right? Like a woman will sometimes literally need you to just pull her aside, say, hey, I genuinely love you and I appreciate you and I really, really adore you and I'm so glad that you're in my life. Most men have fucking never actually been able to tap into that version of themselves because they're so blocked off from their heart center. And it would benefit men greatly if they just started to crack their heart open. What I recommend to men is like, you know, ultimately you want to be able to get to a point of like self-love. You want to be able to get to a point where you can genuinely like list things you love about yourself with ease, like without that element of yourself which cringes or think it's weird or think it's gay, right? I remember that's how I used to feel when I was first connecting to my heart. I was like, oh, this feels off, doesn't feel right, you know, it feels weird. It feels weird and off because it was outside of my current capacity, right? I was operating outside of my comfort zone and I was expanding my capacity through doing the uncomfortable work. But we can start off by expressing love to others, because for most men, it's easier to express love to another, like someone close to us, than it is to express it to ourselves. So start off with expressing it to, you know, let's say your parents or your partner. Express it to them. Just genuinely share your feelings that you have to them. Hey, I just want to let you know that I really appreciate you, I adore you, and I'm really grateful that you're in my life. Boom, right? That's an expression of love. And through that expression of love, you are allowing yourself to open your heart back up and reconnect your heart. And then you can slowly but surely work your way to a place of self-love where you start to talk to yourself like that. And you start to soften the inner critic within your mind, which oftentimes can be insanely harsh and, you know, always show up when you make a mistake or you don't do something to your standards, right? Especially if you're a high-performing man, you're obviously going to have standards and expectations, but when those fall short, the inner critic can oftentimes come up, and then it's, you know, internal language like, you know, something along the lines of, you never do anything right, you're fucking hopeless, XYZ, just a complete lack of self-love. So when you start to practice self-love, you can really soften that inner critic and operate more so from a place of love in comparison from a place of like shame and self-hatred. And, you know, some people might be watching this and thinking, oh, well, Ricky, you're telling me I should just love myself and, you know, become complacent and, you know, that'll kill my drive. That's what I genuinely used to think, well, if I don't have this, like, you know, operating, like, I literally used to operate out of like self-hatred for a period there. And I thought if I got rid of that and if I healed that, then my drive and ambition will go away. But it's not the case. In reality, what actually happens is you still have the drive and ambition, but it just comes from a different place, a much better place. It comes from love. It comes from self-love, right? You love yourself so much and in such a genuine way, and you believe you're worthy of everything good, and you believe you're deserving of abundance, and you believe you are, you know, just someone who is operating from love. Like you believe all these good things about yourself, and you believe you're deserving of love, and you're worthy, and you're just enough as is, and all these really good things. When you start to cultivate that, you start to operate from the frequency of love. Okay, so now we're starting to talk like energetically, vibrationally, we're starting to talk like frequencies and whatnot. You're going to start to operate from that place, and it's a completely different place that you're operating from. You're no longer operating from a place of like shame, self-hatred, or, you know, maybe something more neutral like contentment. You're now operating from a place of love, and now everything that you do is going to come from that place. And it's just such a better vibration to reside in. Okay, you got to understand, we are vibrational beings. We are energy. We are literally so much more than just flesh and bone. We have an energetic element to us in which a lot of people look past, and they don't even realize and they don't understand that we're operating on these scales of consciousness and energy. And where you operate from matters a lot. You know, like, my thoughts around this are always like, well, why would I want to operate from a place of hatred and scarcity and bitterness and shame? Why would I want to live my life, my extremely short life? You know, we are lucky to live to like 80 years old, right? So why would I want to live my extremely short life residing in energetic states of shame, bitterness, hatred, envy, right? Like all these negative, super low vibrational like frequencies. Why would I want to operate and reside within those? I don't at all. And so I have chosen in the past and continue to choose every single day to crack my heart open and keep it open and resist the urge to close it. Okay, because I want to operate from a place of love, and I want to continue to give love to myself and to others, and I want to continue to be able to receive love from others and myself, and I don't want to be in a place where my heart is closed off again, as it has been in the past. Okay, I get both sides of this spectrum. Like, I understand how it feels to be a dude completely disconnected from your heart, and I understand how it feels to be a guy that is now completely connected to his heart and very much so open to giving and receiving love in every form, right? One of the things I want to mention is how our man's heart tends to shut. So we're not born with a disconnect from our heart. As young boys, we're actually very, very caring and very loving. Okay, if you look at a young boy, he's very caring, he's very loving, he's very much so connected to his heart. But as time goes on, as I mentioned before, we get conditioned to believe that it's not manly or the right thing to do for a man or a boy at that stage to, you know, express his emotions, to feel his emotions, to cry, that's another narrative, to just in general, like, be connected to the heart. I know no one's saying to a young boy, don't be connected to your heart. That's not what boys do, but it's implied, right? It's the language between the lines, right? You got to read between the lines to understand this, and just understand the conditioning that's not said. It's the conditioning that's implied. And in a lot of cases, young boys start to pick up on the conditioning, and they start to think, oh, okay, well, I guess men don't have that element of their experience, and it's all about logic and rational and thinking. And yeah, that is a part of it, absolutely. But you're cutting yourself off from so much of your personal potential and experience by not allowing yourself to reconnect and crack that heart open. As I said, we're energetic beings. You want to operate from love. You don't want to operate from this place of bitterness and hatred and fucking whatever. And even if you're not at those super low vibrational states, in general, you just don't want to and don't need to operate as a fucking robot walking through reality. You know, I am a fucking robot. I have to do this, and then I do this, and then I do this, and it doesn't matter how I feel, and so who gives a fuck about self-love? It doesn't matter. All I must do is it's like, come on, bro. You're more than that. You know you're more than that. You know you're more than a fucking productivity machine. You know that life is more than just achievements and accomplishments. All that stuff's great, bro. It really is, but like, the real treasure, and I know this is super cliche, but I believe the real gift of life, the real accomplishment of life, is being okay within yourself and having complete mastery over your internal world, and not having to walk around with a closed off heart and just, you know, be this fucking robotic, neutral man who just, you know, operates from super low vibrational states. It's not something that is appealing to me, and I don't think that other men find it appealing either, but I believe that a lot of men lack the understanding of these deeper concepts, and even if they do understand that they're disconnected from their heart, they don't actually understand how to reconnect to it and to crack that heart open and to actually reconnect to the version of themselves that they were when they were a young boy, maybe before the parental conditioning, or maybe before they experienced a few things in their life, like a couple heartbreaks, maybe the loss of a loved one. All these things can cause us to shut our hearts down and close off as a man. Okay, if you think about it, I actually want you to, while watching this video, think back to an event in your life where you experienced something which fucking, like, was the most heart-wrenching thing. Okay, it could be a breakup, it could be losing a loved one, it could be going through some form of personal tragedy. And I want you to think back, and I want you to envision yourself just before that happened. Okay, and I just want you to envision the version of yourself that you were. Maybe you're showing up in the world in a bit of a different way. Okay, maybe you're a little bit more loving towards yourself. Maybe you were more loving towards other people. Maybe you just in general, were a bit more passionate and happy about life. Okay, and I want you to remember how much, like, energy and sort of like pep you had in your step, right? I want you to just envision that version of yourself before that thing happened. And then I want you to envision the event. And then I want you to realize the version of yourself that you're showing up as now. And I want you to connect the dots, and I want you to see that that event has caused you to close your heart off to one degree or another. Okay, you have experienced something which has given you a significant amount of emotional turmoil, and so from that event, you have then decided, unconsciously in most cases, to shut your heart off or to disconnect from your heart, energetically speaking, obviously. And you've done this not because you wanted to in most cases, but because it was your only option, because you were so overwhelmed with emotions and you didn't understand how to process those emotions. So the only option for you as a defense mechanism or a survival mechanism was to disconnect from the heart. It was too much for you. There was too much shit going on. It was overwhelming. And so you said, fuck all that, I'm not dealing with anything. And you literally just disconnected from it. You disconnected from your own emotions within your body and your own heart. And then you took all your energy and your presence and your being, you took it into the mind, you took it into that sort of like rational thinking. Now, it was something you did in a state of survival, and it was necessary in the time, but you need to understand it's not the final stage of your evolution. The next stage of your evolution is where you reconnect to the heart. It's where you process the emotions you've been running away from. It's where you actually become a man who is driven by both mind and heart, where you have the convergence of both. When you're not just a man who's driven by rational and logic, but you also have the ability to be empathetic, compassionate, to connect with others deeply, to understand others deeply too. When you are a man who just operates from the head and you don't really have that connection to the heart, what I've found in myself and also in people who are still operating out of just the head now is they struggle to understand and connect to other people because they struggle to put themselves in their shoes because they're not able to feel what they're feeling because they're so disconnected. So like connecting back to your heart will give you so many more benefits in life. As I said, your personal sort of experience of life, your personal just in general like internal mastery over that's such a beautiful thing in and of itself. But also like social dynamics, social intelligence, all these sorts of really good things. Once you reconnect to the heart, you're going to be able to not only connect to yourself better, operate a much better frequency, much better vibration, operate out of love, not to get too deep into stuff, but the whole law of attraction thing, it's real, right? Believe what you want, but it's real. Like, we are energetic beings. What you're constantly thinking about and ruminating in becomes your reality. It's what you pick up on. It's what you are focusing on. Okay, so if you're constantly embodying the energy of love and genuine like passion for life, you're going to think thoughts that are associated with those emotions, and those thoughts are then going to shape your perception, and that perception is then going to ensure that you pick up on certain things in reality, and you're going to see certain opportunities you wouldn't have seen before, and you're going to connect with certain people that you wouldn't have connected with before because they're attracted to your energetic frequency, and just as though the experiences are, and it's going to enhance your opportunistic view, and it's going to do all these amazing and really deeply beautiful things just from opening up your heart again and reconnecting to that. That's just on your individual experience, and then you're going to have so many more benefits in terms of relating to your partner, to your friends, to your family, to your kids, everyone, even your dog, right? You're literally going to be able to operate from a place of love, and you're not going to feel scared to show or give love or to even receive love. I know a lot of guys feel like weird receiving love, almost like it's foreign or alien, or they don't feel worthy of it, right? There's so much like stickiness and like offness around the whole like emotions and love and all that sort of stuff for a lot of men, and it's because they're disconnected from their heart. So guys and women, if you're watching this as well, I hope you got a ton of value from this video. It's currently 11:20 p.m. I was going to make this video tomorrow, but I was like, I need to get it out now. I just had a really good conversation with a really good friend of mine, and it just sparked up some inspiration in me to make this video. If you did get value from this video, I would love to hear what your main insight was. Either comment it below or DM me on Instagram, which is Ricky Gauci, RICKY space GAUCI. And if you did get value, feel free to like the video, feel free to subscribe if you like the style of these videos and the depth that we go into. I'm going to be making a lot more videos like this. And one more thing, guys, if you do want to, if you feel like you're in a position where you feel like you're disconnected from your heart and you want to do the work to reconnect to it, and you want to embody that version of yourself and become a man who's led by not just the head but also the heart in convergence, then feel free to DM me on Instagram, the abbreviation SMS. I have a men's self-development community in which we do work like this all the time. Like, it's a self-development community, but we go extremely deep and we talk about all things like this, and it's really a place and space where you can do the work. There's no judgment, there's no negativity, there's no bullshit. There's just genuinely a group of really high level dudes in there doing the work to unlock their full capacity and to genuinely become men that they're actually really fucking proud of. And we talk a lot about unlocking your full potential. A big part of that is mastering the internal world. So guys, again, if that does interest you, feel free to DM me the abbreviation SMS on Instagram. Drop my Instagram before. It's literally the same as my username. But guys, have an amazing day. Have an amazing night. Again, hope you got value from this video, and I will see you all on the next one. Thank you.